at that deep mahogany colour. This is comfort food at its best. This is what we're dealing with, sliced beef shin, more commonly referred to as Osso Buco. And I grabbed 1.2 kilograms of this tasty treat from Mick out at Gippsland Premium Meats. We just need to glove up. All we need to do is oil them up with some extra virgin olive oil, rubbing that in to make sure they are fully covered. And then we're going to salt them and pepper as well. Don't forget to flip them all over, oil this side as well, give it a little massage, not too long, they haven't paid for the extra treatment at the end. Salt these up as well, and a bit of pepper as well. Now we'll just pop these aside while we turn up the heat. Oh, and if you clicked on this video just to hear me butcher the words Osso Buco, well, you'll be sadly disappointed. But if you clicked on this video to watch me make a delicious meal, you're in luck. If you can't find sliced beef shin, always ask your butcher first if they can cut it down. If not, use a whole one. But remember, it's going to take you a lot longer to make a whole beef shin tender. Today, I'm using a 57 centimetre Weber kettle, and I'm going to be utilising the snake method using these original heat beads briquettes because I want to be smoking at temps of 150 degrees Celsius today. How I'll do this is by carefully stacking briquettes in the Weber to form the snake. Starting with an outer row, and then I start stacking an inner row right next to it, both on a 45-degree angle. I tend to take some time setting up my snakes because I find the neater that I set them up, the more consistent my temps are. And now I'm adding the top row, and I find this setup produces enough heat to smoke most meats. And then I'll put 14 briquettes into a chimney starter and light them up. Once they're fully alight, I'll dump them on one end of the snake. And that's going to act like a fuse. And then put in a drip tray because we don't want to lose any of that liquid gold from the bone marrow of the beef shin as it drips down. I'll then grab a couple of chunks of cherry wood and I'll put them on the snake, but not touching the lit fuel, just a little bit away, and I'll make sure there is a 50mm gap in between each piece. As wood burns quicker than charcoal, so if those pieces are touching, you're going to get massive heat spikes. As the charcoal goes around the snake and hits each piece, you will see a little spike, and that's normal. You just don't want massive ones. So leave a 50mm gap. And then I'll carefully put the grill back in place. Now put the lid back on, making sure all the vents are wide open and that lid vent is on the opposite side of our lit fuel. And once the temp gets around 30 degrees Celsius off our target temp of 150 degrees Celsius, we're going to slowly close down that bowl vent and leave it about a quarter open. Now the temp won't stop climbing straight away. What it will do is slow down and hopefully stop on our target temp. If not, adjust it a little bit more, but give it 20 minutes. Once the temp in your Weber has been stable for 30 minutes, it's time to put the meat in. You can use a thermometer probe attached to your grill to track your barbecue's temp more accurately. Or you can lick your finger and touch the lid. It'll be hot, it'll burn you, but at least that way you'll know it'll be hot. Cooking time for this recipe will be 3 hours, or for those of you who love to follow my beer timer, you're looking at a 6-beer cook. Cheers! The Weber's temp has been stable for 30 minutes, so we can get the Osso Buco on the grill. Placing it on the opposite side of our lit fuel and above our drip pan. Just make sure you've got a gap in between each piece. It allows the smoke to fully penetrate. Put the lid back on, making sure that lid vent is directly over our food. That is going to draw the heat and the smoke over it. And we'll leave them alone for an hour and a half. If an hour and a half seems like a long time, you can speed it up a bit and just wait 90 minutes. Osso Buco is generally seared in a pan and then braised in the same pan with a sauce. So we need to make up a rich, flavourful sauce for this Osso Buco to swim in after it's finished having a smoke. So grab yourself a pan, preferably one with a lid. If not, you can use some flexible metal to cover it. Put the pan on a medium heat and add some oil. Once warm, add 1 diced brown onion and 2 diced carrots, plus 2 diced celery sticks. And just stir these up until the onion becomes translucent. You'll just see it, it'll change colour, it'll be a lot softer as it caramelizes with the heat and it sweetens up. And just give it a stir every now and then. This won't take long, maybe a couple of minutes. Just need to get some heat into the vegetables. Now that the onion's softened up and become translucent, we can add 6 cloves of garlic that have been minced, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, and 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. And we're just going to stir that in for about 30 seconds. And then we can add about 1 cup of red wine and 2 cups of beef stock. Now you want to turn up the heat now, and we want to bring this to a simmer. And once it's simmering, you can remove it from the heat. Now it's best to taste it now, and if it needs it, you can add a little bit of salt and pepper. It's really going to depend on what stock you use, because all stocks have different levels of salt in them. Fun fact about barbecue, there is none. We're cooking over fire. The Osso Buco has been smoking away for an hour and a half. So we can lift the lid and check it out. Look at that deep mahogany colour. You want to get the beef shin off the grill and straight into that stock we made up. And you want to make sure each piece is covered. Now if there are any drippings in that pan, you want to put some heat-proof gloves on and remove the grill carefully. Just grab the pan and add the drippings. Carefully put the grill back in, put a lid on your pot and place that on the opposite side of the lit fuel back in the lever. Then pop the lid back on, making sure that lid vent is directly over that pot, therefore drawing the heat over it. We're going to leave that alone for an hour and a half. If you wanted to, you could do this part of the cook in your oven, but then I'd mock you and call you names like oven using person. After an hour and a half of smoking and an hour and a half of braising, I can guarantee you that Osso Buco is going to be fork tender and ready to eat. So let's just get it out and check it. Look at that, it's breaking off. That's how tender it is. That is ready. Osso Buco is Italian and means bone with a hole. Well, hello. Just call me Osso Buco. You can serve Osso Buco with pretty much anything you like, but I think it deserves to be on a big bed of buttery mash made out of pumpkin, carrot and potato. That creamy texture of the mash combined with that super rich flavour of the beef shin and that umami boosted bone marrow infused sauce is a match made in heaven. Smoky delicious heaven. If you don't like mash, no one really cares and you've got no friends. We just want to top the mash with 1 piece of the Osso Buco, and then we're just going to spoon on some of that thick, rich sauce. If my sauce is dribbling down your chin later, you're welcome. So after 3 hours of cooking, 1.5 hours of smoking, 1.5 hours of braising, some people might think this sort of dish has dried out, but far from it. It's still very moist. Smack! Oh, go away or I'll throw a grill at you. That's enough chit chat. It's time to dig in. And when you see just how tender that is, it just literally pulls apart. Is there anything better than slow roasted beef? That is awesome.